welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by a very familiar face. It's returning OG host, Mr. Luke Condor. Did that way slower than I anticipated. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's very nice to be here. This is a strange situation. I feel like I've never left, but also it has been a long time.
You never left. Do you feel like it's just like familiar, like going back to a lovely pair of shoes or pants that maybe you've worn in, but then you've got a new pair. I don't know, and then you've come back to the old pair and you've gone, oh yeah, these are comfy.
Oh, but they're full of holes. Yeah.
They're full of holes and they stink. And
yeah, I don't really have many old shoes because I'm of the mind that you buy like really cheap. You either buy really cheap shoes that are going to last you like 10 minutes and you just buy new ones, or you get really expensive ones that are going to last you ages. So I've got loads of cheap ones that they're like made of paper from Primark.
Cardboard. Oh yeah, I remember those little slip-on daps. Do you call them daps? Have you got a Mansfield like terminology for those little shoes?
Shoes, plimsolls or pumps, right?
Yeah,
you call them pumps?
No, daps. Daps is like a West Country / Wales thing, I think. But
is kecks a thing?
That's pants, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like maybe I'm thinking of kicks.
Kecks.
I wouldn't say kicks. Yeah.
Kicks. No, you're not like an American from 1994. You don't have to call them that. But honestly, welcome back, and it's we're glad to have you back. Even as temporarily as this is, it's nice to see your face. We did so many episodes, just the two of us, and
yeah, it's been really interesting to see like you get so many cool guests on, like Ash Millman and people, which is amazing because I was such a big fan of like PlayStation Access.
Yeah, no, that was we'd like to get her back on, actually. I think she did say she said she'd like to return, but maybe she was just being polite.
Could be.
Are you trying to say that there's a connection between us getting cool guests and you not being on the podcast anymore?
Well, I mean, it just makes it really fun to see that it's like better without me in it.
Oh, don't say that. It is. No. I mean, it's just changing, isn't it? Like, this is the thing.
That's it. It's evolving.
It's been going for so many years, and as like obviously talking about the other stories as well. Like we recently looked back at the other stories, very early episodes. So if you don't know, that's the other Hawk and Cleaver podcast, the horror science fiction audio fiction podcast, and we looked at like the credits on the episodes. Now they've got like ads and dozens of links and so many people involved. The credits, like on the first year of the podcast, were just written by, narrated by. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. Yeah, it is weird. Like things just change and evolve, and that's like I think I even said somewhere like if a shark stops swimming, it dies. So like you've got to keep. Podcasts have to keep swimming. Yeah. Do they? Is that a thing? I think that's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you still find some sort of, I mean, there's so many people involved in the other stories, but I'm just talking about from a horror hangout point of view. We're still enjoying it, from week to week. Gives us an opportunity to talk about films, but like with like really interesting people as well. And you.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it's weird. We started to watch this film. I started to write down. The film we're talking about is Possession. And I started to write down, I thought, okay, it's been a while. So every time I see something weird, it's like noteworthy, I'll jot it down in my notepad. And I think it was by the point, maybe we got introduced to the Heinrich character, or like, there's just so many weird things. I just had to go, I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's just so many weird things in this film.
You could fill up a whole notepad with weird things from this film.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've already mentioned the other stories once before. Just mention it again. So the other stories plus TOS plus is live now on the podcast. So that is essentially like a special Patreon pledge level where you can get access to like higher quality, ad-free content. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, ad-free, a week early, bonus content, and you get access to TOS Plus Vault, which is like all the
Oh yeah.
comics and ebooks. And have you looked at it? We were looking at it's like a big online folder essentially, and it's like 600 bit things in there, just 600 like things we've made over the past few years. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that you get
I
there.
feel like if somebody said, "Have a look in this folder, 600 things in there," I'd look. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? No matter what. Well,
you can get
I'd
lost
look.
inside that folder. Yeah, there's some people who haven't been able to get back out. They're
No,
somewhere inside the sixth subdirectory.
if you do a little count on the files, there's 608 files in there now. 8 of them are people who
People.
subscribed to TOS Plus. Yeah, so obviously we've also discussed obviously this week that there's a 7-day free trial you can get on Patreon as well, and it is for that level, isn't it? The TOS Plus level, which
Yeah.
makes sense, doesn't it? Because I guess it's like a try before you buy situation as well.
There's a free trial on Horror Hangout Patreon as well, right?
Yeah, well, I will get to that eventually because
Sorry.
we've only just put that live as well. No need to apologize. You're doing a great job. You're not out of practice. It's good. You're segueing all over the place.
Sorry.
Don't apologize for that. And yeah, no Andy, unless you thought he was quiet. We do want to do like an official freeway reunion of sorts at some point soon. So we'll get that in there. But Andy is. I tell you what, trying to get Andy in for the podcast this week was like trying to book time with what would you say?
The Pope. Trying to get an audience for the Pope.
Is that terminology I'm looking for? Something like that.
Yeah.
I was like trying to get a doctor's appointment in this day and age. Hello, is that the doctors?
Oh, no, it's the Pope.
You. No, it's the Pope. It's the bloody Pope. Does the Pope shit in the woods?
Again, fuck off, Pope.
Fuck off,
Pope. Telemarketing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just rounding off the other stories chat, like it's in a really good place. There's just been a month-long theme that Andy wrote called Tragic Kingdom, which is kind of like how do you describe it? It's kind of like Disney, not actually Disney. Don't say that. Don't say that. The mouse will get you.
I mean, it is kind of. I mean, yeah. So it's the tagline is not your mother's fairy tales. So we kind of go into the same creative world that the Disney tend to go to. So fairy tales and stories about princes and princesses and stuff. But we do it in the other stories way. So they're all kind of short horror stories that end with people not living happily ever after, but dying in terrible and awful ways.
Like Banksy's Dismaland, but in podcast form, you could say.
Yeah, I think the last one is going live on Monday, which is
episode 4, The Rescue, I believe, isn't it? Who's being rescued from what? You should go back and listen to all of the episodes. So obviously it's in a good place, a good couple of themes, and obviously planning is in place as well for Halloween special, which is always a good time to be a listener of the other stories. And Dan Wilcox is cooking up something very, very tasty.
Exactly.
As we speak. Delicious. But as you mentioned, the Patreon 7-day free trial thing is a thing now. Like it's only recently gone live, so we've activated it on Horror Hangout as well. And also we are gonna start creating some more bonus content, including something called Horror Hangout Bite Size. Now, initially I was like bite-sized.
Bright size.
Bright side.
Mr.
Bright-sized.
No,
bright size.
Bright size.
Jesus. Jesus. What's a bloody killer's got to do with it? That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, we're gonna do like sort of mini episodes / like 15-20 minutes, maybe shorter, maybe longer, don't know. Solo hosted little mini review episodes. Now it doesn't always have to be a review. I think we're gonna do like maybe not reactions, but like news and various other things, just because I know we've been kind of dragging our feet a little bit on some of the bonus content that we've promised. And I think just recording bonus content alongside a full episode a week is actually quite difficult to get everybody together and available. So as a way around that and a way to provide more bonus content, it's Patreon exclusive as well. So it's not going to be available anywhere else. We're going to do that. So that might be live now, or it might be going live ASAP, but just keep an eye on all of the Horror Hangout podcast socials for information about that.
Lovely.
Yes. Absolutely delicious and lovely. Shall we do some, we've got some horror news. Remember that bit?
I was about to, did the Pope telemarket in the woods? Of course I remember that bit.
It's the Pope telemarketing. Have you got horror news? Have you come prepared?
No.
Oh,
The Boogeyman, Rob Savage's movie,
yes,
is out soon. Is that
it is.
newsworthy?
That's newsworthy. It's out soon. We were lucky enough to get an invite to the multimedia screening premiere thing of the Boogeyman in London, and Andy's uncle Chris, who made the short film Leopard Heels, and he will be the guest on the Boogeyman episode, which is going to be the first week of June. He's going to be attending that, so that is like on our behalf essentially, but super exciting.
Is he going to be wearing a Horror Hangout t-shirt or anything when he goes?
Oh, I hope so. I don't know if he owns one. We'll have to get one to him really quick, or insist he
goes
just
naked, writes it on his chest.
Just writes it on his chest in Tipex.
You could get the O's around the nipples. Horror. Wait, does that work? You could.
It pretty much works.
Does that work? I know it works. I've done it.
Yeah, it works. It works. I'll tell you what, we'll test it tonight. You can do a dry run. Dry run. Get the Tipex out or anything else that will appear on your skin. If I Tipex my chest, it might not show up as well.
Well, his chest will disappear. Where's his chest? He's Tipexed it out.
Bloody hell. He's just floating arms and a head there. What's going on? That reminds me, I saw a meme of a guy in camouflage, but in a high vis jacket on, and someone said, "Does he want to be seen or not?"
That's so weird. I swear, I actually read something really similar. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
It did amuse me. I was like, yeah, get a camouflage on. Where are you going? I'm just off out hunting. High vis on as well. High vis on as well. See you later. Yeah, looking forward to the Boogeyman. Looks good. Did you see the trailer for it? Are you avoiding the trailer? Are you just?
It's one of those things where I don't think I need to see the trailer. I think I saw the first teasery one that came out a while ago. I'm very curious because I mean the Boogeyman short story was a kind of a precursor to It. I think it's kind of what turned into It. But the Boogeyman short story is very short. It's pretty much just a guy in a I think it's pretty much one scene, a guy talking to a psychiatrist or something, and the Boogeyman turns up. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what happened, but it's good.
I'm here, I'm safe from the Boogeyman, talking to my psychiatrist. Oh, you never guess what the Boogeyman's turned up.
I was talking to someone about sorry, go on. I completely interrupted it. Malpractice.
Go on. You know me. You can interrupt me as often as you want, but if you do it again, I won't. No, you carry on.
I was going to say now. I was talking to someone about Rob Savage's work, and we were talking about Host. And I was like, Host is a great film. Host is the kind of film that anyone who has a passing interest in horror could really, really enjoy. But Dashcam, even though it's a harder one to just recommend to anyone, I think Dashcam feels like a much cooler, more unique film. Dashcam, I think, is like one of my favorite horror movies in a few years. Like it's so unique.
But it'll be really interesting to see how he tackles like this. So what was the one with is it Salt? Is that something else that you did?
Yeah, the short film,
That is more of a like blockbuster style horror movie, isn't it? In short film format. So I think you can see the potential for him as a filmmaker in that. And
do you think he'll do
Dawn of the Deaf as well?
Dawn of the Deaf, yeah. Do you think he'll do a David Sandberg and start directing superhero movies after this? Or do you think he'll stay in horror?
I think I think you've got to see how this one's received, isn't it? Like it'd be good for him to stay in horror, but I don't know. Have a little dabble in a superhero movie. I feel like if I was a filmmaker and if I got the opportunity to direct a superhero movie, I would probably just go.
Probably just do it, knock one out.
See what happens. I'll knock
Get
one
the
out,
payday.
and I'll knock one out, and then I'll direct a horror movie, superhero movie.
Yeah. Did you watch you did watch it, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it? Because that's got some like horror elements to it in a way.
Yeah, I
Very
guess
kinda. Very kinda.
very kinda. Yeah, it does. There's definitely some elements of it in there. I thought it was good. I was glad that it was felt like more of a standalone thing. I always feel like those films struggle the most when they're kind of like leaning into bringing in, I don't know, multiverses and setting up villains and stuff. So I don't know. It felt like despite the fact it's a big space story, it felt a lot more small scale. You enjoyed it as a?
Yeah. I loved it, to be honest. I mean, I just really enjoy James Gunn's style of films. Like, I love the Suicide Squad. I'd know that they're not perfect movies. Like, I know that there's like always like holes and stuff you can find in them, but there's just like some like the intention or the chaotic joy, like the punky joy where people just like dancing. I think someone dances in like every single one of his films potentially, but it
Yeah.
like I don't. I just really enjoy it. Like it feels like that's how movies should be made in a way. Like they shouldn't be utterly perfect. They should be kind of
Yeah.
joyous, collaborative experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah. And the fact that it kind of leans so heavily into Rocket's story. I mean, I kind of felt like
Mm.
I was kind of out. I kind of wasn't bothered either way about that film, and it did a really good job of like capturing my attention and drawing me right in. So
Yeah, I was completely. I mean, I don't know, kind of fell out of love with Marvel for a bit. I didn't even get to watch the last few, but then I saw the trailer for this one, and even the trailer made me emotional.
oh,
I was like, oh, okay,
oh,
let's see.
very nice. I wasn't a big fan of Adam Warlock. I think that was the only thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he was represented so well in the Guardians of the Galaxy game that it kind of felt like, is he really needed there? It kind of just felt like he was just thrown in and then kind of a bit of a sort of punchline character, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played the game. I know that the game's meant to be really good, right?
Yeah, the game's good. Yeah, not like one of my out and out favorites, but still fun
Mm,
for like a sort of story based game.
yeah,
And the like co-op play, not co-op between you and an actual other person, but I mean like the fact that you can
yeah,
like, because you can only play as Peter Quill, but you kind of like do little
yeah.
combos with everybody. It's good. Um, yeah, I mean, apart from that, in terms of news, there is creepypasta, viral horror stories coming to life on Screenbox. It's available now. So it's just exactly what it sounds like. So it is a anthology based film, um, which is obviously based on the creepypasta short stories from years gone by. Are creepypastas still like coming out brand new, brand spanking new? Are they kind of?
Um, well, it's kind of. I mean, I imagine so. I mean, the No Sleep podcast is pretty much where that stuff gets put
Hmm.
out mainly, right? And there's the No Sleep Reddit and stuff. I guess so. A bit out of touch with it. There's also Mr. Creepypasta, who's like a
Oh
big
yeah,
YouTube person.
yeah.
I really like creepypastas. It does feel like a from a bygone era in some
Yeah,
ways.
it does. It definitely does. I feel the same about that. Yeah. It kind of feels like, oh yeah, creepypasta. Yeah, we all know what they are, of course. But now it's strange that now of all times they've decided to make something like that. But I guess it's on Screenbox, which I actually don't think you can get in the UK. So
What is a
might have to, might
Screenbox?
have to VPN. It's just like a sort of video on demand service that I guess similar to Shudder in a way, but rather than being like original Screenbox things, I think just fingers up on there like Pennywise, the story of it, like the making of the 90s
Oh,
miniseries was on there.
oh,
Um,
Screenbox. Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah. Oh, it is like Shudder. Yeah,
yeah. What do you think I was saying?
a screen box, like TV
Uh,
screen. Yeah,
Interesting. But yeah,
this looks
Screenbox.
interesting. Yeah.
That's where I saw Living with Chucky documentary as well. But yeah, they've got like loads of interesting films that maybe you like, I wouldn't know where else to find them. I think you can get it on via YouTube and Roku and Prime Video somehow. But, go and Google. I ain't doing the admin, mate. All right. I ain't doing the bloody admin. So yeah, that's out now. That could be interesting. Also, last night was the PlayStation Showcase.
Yeah.
Which streamed. Did you watch it?
I saw some of the videos this morning. And I watched like 10 minutes of like the countdown to the event on YouTube, and I was like, it's gonna take ages. So I watched the Spider-Man 2 game trailer this morning, which is full of Venomy stuff.
Yeah, I mean that was like an extended sort of gameplay, and that was kind of unexpected.
That looks amazing, to be perfectly honest. Like the games these days, like AAA games, especially Insomniac AAA games, like I don't know, they just kind of perfectly put together. Like everything looks so well. So
I remember when you used to web swing from the sky, like on the PS1 Spider-Man game.
That one quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're like, I don't know, being dragged along by a helicopter while things explode and there's a lizard
coming out of the floorboards trying to get you and stuff. Yeah.
Just insane.
It's wild. Yeah.
That looks great. But I mean, the thing I was going to mention was Alan Wake 2. So there's like an extended trailer now from Epic Games and Remedy. And I mean, it looks great. It looks like there's more than one playable character, so you can play as Alan Wake, but you can also play as someone called Saga Anderson, who's an FBI agent with a reputation for solving unsolvable cases. And it looks like there's some sort of combination between those two working together in Bright Falls. And I've already read from what's his name, Sam Lake. Is that the guy, the Max Payne looking guy? Max Payne looking guy, even though the Max Payne face guy. And he said it's going to be more of a horror film, which is more of a horror game, which is interesting because if you played the original, like there's a lot of horror going on there, but apparently that's just a action thriller in comparison to what this one's going to be.
Being quite scary, the first one.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's like isolated. It's like weird, like shadowy people and stuff. And but it's got a release date as well. So I think nobody kind of knew when it was going to be coming out. So 17th of October, 2023. Another weird thing. Apparently, it's going to be digital only, which is interesting, but still, But looking forward to that. That was really like the only sort of horror stuff that was on the PlayStation Showcase, except for Resident Evil 4 VR, which just looks like 10 types of stressful, doesn't it?
I thought that was already out. Resident Evil 4 VR. This remake VR.
I think it was Village VR, was it not? This is Resident Evil 4 VR already out? Oh, they showed something. Maybe they're just showing the same thing. They're going, remember that
Unless
thing?
It's like
still exists.
Maybe it's like a PSVR 2 thing. The VR one's definitely out on Oculus.
Good point. It must be a PSVR 2 thing. Yeah. But yeah. Looks great. And Alan Wake 2 looks great. I mean, as I mentioned before, I was late to Alan Wake. I only played it for the first time when the game was remastered fairly recently. So definitely looking forward to doing that. And maybe we'll do another sort of bonus episode because we did a bonus episode with Jem Carmella of the My Turn podcast talking about the first game. So we should probably do the second game as well. That makes all types of sense. And the last thing I got in news is just this random headline I saw, which is apparently there's a finished Alien versus Predator anime series locked up in the Disney Vault. I don't know what that means or who has found out about that. What's this in here? Oh, series.
Oh God, it's out. It's out.
It's out. I don't know what that was. Oh, that's it. That's better. That's better. Acid blood all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently that exists at Disney Plus, which is
Alien versus Predator animated.
10 episodes of a fully completed Alien versus Predator anime series that somebody produces in the can. This is what somebody has said.
In the can.
Eric Calderon is the writer. David Baker. Josh Izzo.
Izzo what?
Former director. What is he? Josh, what are you? Director of licensing at 20th Century Fox. He's former though. Sounds like he's been sacked, right? And he's gone, right, that's it. Remember that anime series I made? I'm gonna blow the lid clean off this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be interesting. I definitely watch that. If somebody said check this out, I'd be all over it like a
Did
wet
you
flap.
watch the trailer or the teaser for the Gremlins animated
Oh, that
prequel
Secrets of
show?
the Mogwai thing. No, I saw that a trailer was out, but I didn't watch it. How's that
Yeah,
looking?
that's interesting. I mean, I don't know if we necessarily need it. I mean, it's weird 'cause it takes place. It's more about like the deep in like digging into the lore of Mogwai, which I mean, do we need much more lore about the Mogwai? I don't know. I
Yeah.
will definitely watch it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I see something Gremlins, it just reminds me to go and watch the Key and Peele sketch
I
about
know.
Gremlins 2
Yeah,
every time, which I know we've mentioned before, but still,
yeah.
I go, I need to watch that again. But yeah, there's like a Skull Island animated series that's been announced as well, isn't there? Like a Kong animated
Well,
series on
based on
Netflix.
those King Kong that's Kong Skull Island film and the Godzilla versus Kong movie. I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. The other day I was at my friend's house. We talked about this, and then we were looking through movies to watch, and then we went past Godzilla versus Kong. My friend said, "Is that the one with?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the one with Godzilla and Kong in it." And
Well,
yeah,
Godzilla, yeah, yeah, and Kong,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Haven't they announced a newer one which is like called Godzilla X Kong? Like
yeah,
Godzilla times Kong. I mean, you got no chance
yeah. I mean,
if you're a
what
mech.
does that mean? That's like a rap collaboration, right? When it's the X,
Yeah,
like they're producing a track together. Godzilla
Godzilla
X Kong.
X Kong, the new empire. Like, what could be left for to take them down? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they did the Mecha one.
Mm, yeah,
Um, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know the King Kong or the Godzilla lore that well, but there's a lot of lore.
yeah. There's a lot
Um,
of, but I think we've seen all the big ones, haven't we? Like the big three-headed one. Mothra's not even a bad guy, girl. What's left? What could there be? Maybe the 1997 Godzilla turn up.
have you seen the son of Godzilla, who's like a little
Oh
man-sized
yeah,
Godzilla?
yeah. He's a legend.
Is he?
Who's Godzuki? Is that someone else?
Maybe that's Godzuki.
I feel like we
Godzuki
need it.
sounds like a side dish.
Yeah, it does. Excuse me, have you got any Godzuki? No, sorry, we haven't. We don't do that here. Fucking
Yeah,
hell. I'll just go somewhere else. We need Andy here to talk about Godzilla and all the Godzilla lore,
yeah,
to be fair.
yeah.
Okay, that's it for horror news. I guess we should do what we've been watching. I mean, you can do the last however many months it's been since you've been on the podcast, or just a few things from the recent week or so.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I mean, let's have a quick look through the last year or so. Super Mario Brothers movie.
Year or
One.
so. Are you still are you logging stuff on Letterboxd regularly?
No, I don't use Letterboxd like at
Oh,
all.
oh
Uh,
God. What do
Um,
you use?
I do use Letterboxd actually to look at other people's reviews and disagree with them. I do that quite a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
you're full of shit. 5 stars.
in terms of like horror movies that I really liked, Infinity Pool. I don't know if you did an episode on it, did you?
No, we didn't do an episode on it, but I think I'm pretty sure both me and Andy have seen it. But yeah,
I really liked it. I thought it was
Mm.
like it made me feel weird, which is what
Yeah,
you want. Like there's
yeah,
bits, I mean, you probably talked about it already then, I guess. But the bits where like you're seeing him get murdered and like there's like blood pouring out of his stomach and he's watching it and he's like smiling. I don't know. It really affected me. I thought it was so weird. Um, I just really
yeah,
like that film. I thought, and it was quite stylish. I love like the title cards and stuff.
yeah. Great title card, very stylish. Mia Goth obviously great. Although I don't
Yeah.
ever want to hear her say the name James ever again.
James. Yeah, come on, James. Yeah, because she
Yeah,
like turns into like a different person, like
yeah.
almost like a different act. Yeah, it's
It's
bizarre.
because like she's really well spoken in English in real life, isn't she? So hearing her do these like well, no, she is English in that film, isn't she? But I
Yeah,
feel like hearing her do anything, like when she does Pearl or when she does any other accent, it's very strange. So
yeah,
it almost feels like she's putting it on in Infinity Pool, but I'm like, it's closer to her actual accent.
yeah. And there was that like pure. I mean, I know people like Possessor quite a bit, and I did like it, but I feel like I much preferred this one in terms of like a horror film and a Cronenbergian horror film. You know, especially that
Yeah.
psychedelic sex scene, which was utterly bizarre. I think there was like 3 other people in the cinema when I went to watch it, and there was like 2 old ladies watching it, and
One either
I think
side of you.
I don't think they were having a good time.
No,
Well, I feel like I kept
fucking
farting. Um,
oh Jesus! Bloody hell! You can't blame it on anyone else as well. There's only only 2 other people in there. Bloody hell! What's that? It's a drainage system.
um, what else did I watch? We talked about Guns N' Galaxy 3. What's the other thing? I was actually gonna say, uh, I've just watched so many Evil Dead films recently.
Oh yeah.
I've seen Evil Dead Rise twice for some
Wow.
reason.
Okay.
It's not because like I really enjoyed it, which I didn't quite like it, but just because I went once and then my friends were like, "Do you want to go watch it?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I watched it twice, and I watched the 2013 one last weekend, and I've got to
Yeah.
say, I still much prefer the 2013 one to Evil Dead Rise,
Yeah.
but that 10-year difference, like maybe it's a budget difference or something, but the effects and everything on the newer one are like way more advanced
Yeah.
than
Okay.
what they were doing in the 2015. The when you watch the 2013 one now, it feels quite tame in the production value
Hmm.
because I mean it's all just like one little location and stuff, and it's like a shitty little cabin. But they do a lot with it. Like they go to town with what they do in that little cabin. But
Hmm.
this apartment building and the new one, like it just feels like much bigger, much grander affair. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what about the new one, which I thought both times I watched, I can see where maybe a producer or someone has said we need a death scene right at the start. Do you remember the start of Evil Dead
Mm.
Rise? They're in the cabin, and then you see
Yeah.
someone get murdered. I don't think that doesn't need to be in the film at all. Like it even detracts from the kills that are like later in the film. Like they
Yeah.
reuse some of the same special effects, and it kind of just spoils them. Like it doesn't need that loop around, that
Yeah. I
wraparound
mean,
story they
do you
do.
think like how it links to that original scene as well is probably not needed? Kind of just feels.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just goes straight to the no hotel apartment building, and just
Yeah.
I can understand like why they would have got because it's like half an hour before someone dies, so they probably were like, we can't wait for that long. Someone needs to die straight away. But I don't think it needs it. I think it
Yeah.
kind of ruins
But
it.
then again, you get that title card because of that death, don't you?
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they were like, because the 2013 one does something similar. Like it's a really shocking start, and it goes
Yeah.
ah, and that Evil Dead
Yeah.
logos are
That's
massive on the
great though. I
screen.
mean, I watched Insidious again recently as well, and I think it's such an effective way of a title card, just like shrill violins just
Yeah,
like screaming at you. The title as big as possible on the
puts
screen.
you on the edge.
Yeah.
Even the title's scary.
Ooh.
God, what the movie's going to be like?
Oh
Yeah,
God. I hate sans serif fonts. The serif font. I hate them.
yeah,
Get it out of my face.
yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Has there been any recent new releases? Horror wise that obviously because I guess we've covered on the podcast, but it'd be good to get your opinion on them as well. Obviously,
Um,
Evil Dead Rise was probably the.
Speak No Evil. Did you talk about that one?
I don't think we spoke about it on a main episode, but we did speak about
Oh,
it a
was it?
little bit. I think
That's a
maybe
very upsetting film.
incredibly upsetting. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
Hellraiser?
mean, Hellraiser. I just can't believe. It feels like ages ago, but obviously, yeah, you would have missed
No.
that as well. So some, I guess, Megan was one. Hellraiser, Knock at the
Um,
Cabin.
didn't watch Knock at the Cabin.
No,
I read the book a long
Skinamarink.
time ago. No, I didn't watch it. I
You
think
didn't watch it?
I saw like a parody where someone had done like
Oh
an
no.
AI version of the president's voice. He says,
Yeah.
I'm in the house, I've been Skinnamarink. And it just sounded like absolutely ridiculous.
Are you coming out? You coming out tonight? I can. I'm afraid I have been Skinamarink. Oh, we've
But
all been there, mate.
oh no, okay, so I definitely talked about this on the podcast, Deadstream. Did I talk about it on the podcast?
I don't know actually. So we did Deadstream when we did Fright Fest,
Yeah,
um, and we talked about Deadstream when we did our like year in review,
yeah.
and for 2022. But I don't know.
That
But
might be my
Deadstream,
favorite horror film of that year. I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
it's definitely
Um,
up. It's definitely up there, isn't it?
Barbarian as well. Just
Yeah.
mad horror
Barbarian was
movie.
great.
Megan was good. I actually really liked Megan. I liked how it felt in tone, similar to like small soldiers or gremlins. Like it felt like an
Yeah.
old school kind of not family horror, but I don't know, family entertainment horror more than I don't know. Like it didn't feel as niche. It felt like it was made for a wider audience, and I quite enjoyed
Mm,
it. And like Megan doing when the music kicks in at the end,
yeah.
the drum beats start kicking in, and she starts dancing for no reason before she murders that guy. Like that feels like I don't know. It reminds me of Ghostbusters or something. Like there's something about the tone of it. Just it struck me as really fun. Um, yeah, I don't know. What about you? What have you been watching?
So I watched a few things this week. I guess I should just mention a couple of those. So I watched Alligator and Alligator 2, The Mutation. Now, Alligator is going to be the first film I talk about on Horror Hangout Bite Size. So if you fancy hearing my thoughts, slightly longer, but still bite sized. I want to hear
Yeah.
more of those thoughts. Hang on, that's too many. A little small amount of those thoughts. If you'd like that, then go and check that out on Patreon. But yeah, great creature feature. Really enjoyed it. Like for 1980, it's aged really well.
Hmm.
The alligator feels like a kind of a Jaws level threat. The effects are good, like the deaths are good and like shocking. Robert Forster is the lead in it from Jackie Brown and obviously Breaking Bad and stuff. Really weird. He's kind of like he's thinning on top, but only a little bit. But it gets mentioned like 4 or 5 times in the film. They go like, "Oh, male pattern baldness." So you, and someone else just goes, "Why'd you wear your hair like that?" Really weird. It's like he said, I'm feeling really, really upset about my hair. Can you not mention it, please?" And the director's gone, "I'm going to mention it every turn in this script, like 4 or 5 times." But Alligator's great, and so both of these are available on Shudder now. And Alligator 2, The Mutation, which I think was like a direct-to-video sequel, is pretty bad actually. The dropping quality is bad. It's not really linked to the first film at all. It's not that they've gone, there was an alligator knocking about a couple of years ago. Guess what? Another one's back, or it's back. This one, they kind of just this sort of brand new story. And I think some of the shots from the original are even like reused in the sequel. Like you go, hang on a minute. That's
Yeah.
the exact shot of that alligator's eye, or that's the exact shot of it like going into the water. So yeah, pretty cheap. I also watched Starship Troopers for the first time in a little while.
I watched it
So,
as well recently for the first
oh,
time
you
in a little
did?
while. Yeah.
For the first time in a little while. So I couldn't make it to the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, which is where it was showing in Bristol on an IMAX screen. I kind of felt a bit left out, so I was like, I'm gonna have to watch it. So I watched it the same night it was screened. And yeah, it's amazing that I
Hmm.
think it's misunderstood, underappreciated, but I'm glad that it's like found its audience now, hasn't it? It seems that people understand what kind of film is supposed to be like. It is satire, but you can enjoy it for if you don't want to pay attention to that stuff, the satire stuff, you can still enjoy it for what it is, which is just like the relentless brutality of
Hmm.
humans versus bugs on the battlefield. And yeah,
Yeah. When I was a kid, I just really liked it. I think mainly because it was like cool soldiers fighting like mute
yeah,
giant bugs. But yeah, as you get older, you appreciate it more and more for the satirical elements. I mean, Paul Verhoeven, when I think of RoboCop, perfect movie.
yeah,
Total Recall, not a perfect movie, but I still very much like
pretty
it.
close, pretty
Yeah.
close. Yeah,
Starship Troopers, I would say, is a perfect movie. Like it feels like it hits all of the nails on the heads that it's aiming for. That makes
yeah,
sense.
exactly, most definitely. And then Hollow Man as well. That's
Ah,
not a perfect movie, but good movie.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, he's got a pretty
Showgirls,
good track record. Showgirls, yeah.
that
Showgirls.
was the movie.
Basic Instinct as well, yeah. I mean, all of these films are like iconic in their own way, aren't they? They're kind of like
Yeah.
defined a time of a cinematic time.
I do kind of feel like he could have just made RoboCop and like he would still go down as one of the best filmmakers ever. Just because RoboCop, I think is it's not only just a perfect film, but it's like I don't know, like you could watch that movie at any point. Like even when I like to watch reaction videos on YouTube and watching people react to like RoboCop catching the keys. Do you know
Yeah,
that moment when he goes towards the car for the first time
yeah,
and he catches the keys and the music kicks in? Or
yeah.
like the bit when it's like his footsteps are just walking down like the hallway and all the police people are like, "What's that?" Like trying to find him and it just said,
That's a bloody robo. That's a robot cop. That
Is
is.
that RoboCop? Yeah. That's like pure cinema
Pure
magic.
cinema
That's
and a
yeah,
great title as well, because you know exactly what you're getting yourself in for, don't you? You're like Total
yeah.
Recall. What does that mean? That could mean one of a billion things.
What could you
RoboCop,
call Total Recall though? Mind on Mars, imaginary adventure to Mars,
Imaginary Adventure
maybe
to Mars,
question
and
mark.
and your wife is not really your wife at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a spoiler if anything. Yeah, and the only other thing I watched was I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but Sisu,
Oh yeah, I want to
Sisu,
watch that. Yeah.
Sisu.
Saisu.
Yeah, Sisu,
I don't
maybe.
know.
So pretty simple premise. There's like a Finnish guy, like a Finnish veteran or former war dude,
Yeah.
who's like a really hard to
That's what they should
kill
have called
type.
it. Former
Yeah,
war dude.
former war dude. It's a really hard to kill, like John Wick, Logan type guy, who just takes on a bunch of Nazis, and it's exactly what you expect it to be like. Yeah, loads of brutality, good
Mm.
action. Yeah, just a really sort of like simple watch. You could watch it on mute and you'd know everything you need to know. No, I don't suggest you do that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was good. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week.
Interesting. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's playing at the cinemas near here, which is a bit disappointing.
Yeah, it was, but like very briefly in cinemas, wasn't it? Because it was at, I think it was at Fright Fest as well, you know, Fright Fest
Mm.
Glasgow, which was like one of the sort of higher profile releases. Yeah, I mean that is it. Apart from the film of the week, which you did choose, and strangely,
Did I
you
choose it?
didn't. I think you chose it. Strangely, you didn't choose the Cat People remake, which was initially what we were trying to edge you towards.
Oh,
I was surprised by that.
yeah. I do want to watch that at some point. Actually, the remake. It looks very heated.
Heated, very heated,
Yeah.
very sexy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you chose quite a highbrow movie, quite a highbrow, intense one. Would you say highbrow?
I don't remember choosing this movie, to be perfectly honest.
Oh
But
yeah, like that, is it? Oh, you
it,
forced me into it.
I think it's been on my to watch list for a little while, and
Yeah.
I was always looking for an excuse to watch it. Um, and I guess I knew I knew it was about. I mean, if what's his name, the RoboCop, Paul Verhoeven directed it, it would have been called Tentacle Sex Thing.
It would have been called Tentacle Divorce, wouldn't
Tentacle
it?
Divorce. Yeah.
Tentacle Divorce. So I watched this. I only watched it for the first time back in January, I think.
Mm.
When it arrived on UK Shudder. Is it still on Shudder in the UK? Is it still there?
I had to
No, it's
rent it
gone.
off Prime. Yeah,
It's gone.
for
It's
three
weird
pound
how it kind of
fifty,
like.
and then I pressed play, then had to go and do something else. Forgot about it. Went back to watch it a couple of days later, and like you have to re-rent it. You can't.
Oh, that's disgraceful,
That's the
isn't it?
noise I made. Yeah, it is disgraceful. So I ended up paying
Oh,
£7.
bloody hell.
But you know, it's worth it.
Hmm. Yeah, and so the film we are talking about is Possession, which is a 1981 psychological drama and horror film directed by Andrzej Żuławski and written by Żuławski and Frederic Tuten. The plot follows the relationship between an international spy, is he, and his wife, who begins exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after asking for a divorce. So the spy is played by Sam Neill and his wife Isabelle Adjani. And I've been watching some sort of kind of like video essays about this over the last couple of days, and it's really quite fascinating about like the cast and sort of like the making of the movie as well. I guess we're getting to a bit of that. But yeah, in terms of ratings, it's got a 7.3 on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes 86%, critic score 78%, audience score, the Metacritic score 75. Are we saying 75 or is Metacritic 75%? It doesn't matter, does it? 4.1 on Letterboxd, and here are some choice reviews. Zara says the scariest part was the fact that they named their child Bob. 4.5 stars. Bob might have just been a little nickname, Zara. Okay.
Yeah.
You're still giving the film 4.5 stars. Poor Bob. He gets caught right in the middle of it, doesn't he? Dirk H says, fascinating, unrelenting, chaotic, kinetic, evil, deranged, space, uneasy, perverted. And if you look at the first letter of every single word, it says fucked up. Okay.
Wow.
This
What is
guy
that? What is
knows.
that called when you do that?
I
When you
don't
have
know.
that? Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's called, Luke. Genius. Okay.
Yeah.
This guy, we've all got letterboxed accounts. Okay. This guy, he's making us all look ridiculous on Letterboxd. 4.5 stars. Camilla says, my grandma thought I was watching porn when I was
Camilla.
actually listening. Camilla. My grandma thought I was watching porn when I was actually listening to Isabelle Adjani scream for 2 hours straight. 2 stars.
I was thinking that scene, like when you, as we watch horror movies or like random movies, there's always a sex scene and someone walks in at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I think it'd be worse if they came into what and they were like, "What are you watching when you saw this film?" There's bits in this film, and I was like, "This, I could never
Worse
explain
than
what's happening." Yeah,
someone walks in at the wrong part and you happen to have your trousers down as well.
it's porn, honest.
It's forward honest. It's fine. What were you doing? I had an itch. I couldn't get to it. Couldn't get to it from my jeans. And Stevie says he was a squid. She was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? 5 stars.
Yeah, I mean that bit's overrated quite a bit. It's all about tentacle, like hentai, tentacle sex, but there's not a huge amount of not enough tentacle sex for me, to be perfectly honest. I needed a bit
No,
more.
a little bit more. Did you need more actual possession as well? Because that was kind of for a
Yeah,
film called
that's a weird name. It's like a thematic possession about needing someone else or something. I don't really know why they call it
Yeah.
possession.
There's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot to unpack. There's some two incredibly intense performances where I just kept thinking these are great performances, but at the same time I'd be like, if you knew someone who acted like either of them, you'd just be like, just give it a rest for God's sake, do my head in.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird. Like it feels like there's. I mean, it's so much. Who was it said they were like it was frenetic and crazy or whatever. It feels like there's too much to the point where it kind of feels like noise. Like it's just so
Yeah,
much shouting and so much movement. And it was only after like watching like a couple of YouTube videos about it afterwards that like it felt less like nonsense to me and more like there's actual like intention with a lot of it. Because
yeah,
you're watching it, it's like I don't understand. Like it doesn't even like transition between scenes like a normal film. Like someone
mm,
will walk one way and then they'll be dancing in the next scene, or they'll be watching a film of a film, like the film reel, and it's a woman talking about something really philosophical, and you think, I don't know what this is like irritating me. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. But it like obviously there is a lot going on with it. It just kind of goes over your head a little bit on that first watching.
yeah. I mean, if you don't know what you're getting yourself in for, like I kind of just I don't know. When I first got into it, I kind of thought like it's probably going to be like a bit of an art house film, but
Yeah.
and it definitely wasn't like what I was expecting. But at the same time, there are there's some really like impactful scenes. A lot of the visuals
Yeah.
are really memorable. Like even from that image you've got in the background where she's just like a blood down her gob all the
Yeah,
time.
her eyes, was it Isabella Adjani? Her
Mm,
eyes when she's like staring at the camera because she does that a lot. Like stares directly, maybe not in the camera, but like just below it or something. But
yeah,
like it's really haunting and strange, and she does it an awful lot.
yeah. So she won Best Actress at the 34th Cannes Film Festival for this. And apparently she'd been like kind of blacklisted for a while because
Because
a
she
lot
was
of people
difficult to work with. Yeah.
difficult to work with. Yeah.
Stop
So
looking at the camera. Jesus Christ.
can you just do the scene, please? And she's like slinging her shopping around. She's just been to Quick Save and she's just
Yeah.
smashing everything against the wall. Fuck's sake, actually, roll. Let's do it. That bit was just a meltdown. That was
Yeah.
nothing to do with the film. That was just
Tantrum.
about
Yeah.
a big tantrum. Yeah, and I think from sort of researching more into it, like after watching it, it was not marketed very well. I don't think in the United States when there was a heavily cut version that
Yeah.
American audiences saw, and I think it was kind of marketed as like a video nasty as well, rather than
I
like
mean,
a
you could
film
probably
that.
cut a video nasty out of this, but I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know actually. I don't know how that would work. I don't think it would work, and I don't think it did. Apparently,
Yeah, I don't think it did. But yeah, I guess it's been more positively praised in recent years and gained a bit of like a cult status rather than when it was released. And I think people were just saying it was a bit, yeah, nuts. But obviously, the central psychosis of Anna isn't like, despite it being called possession, there's no like demonic possession.
Yeah, I don't know what that refers to. I'm trying to think about like the thematics of what happens, and the only link I can come to is that so it's essentially like a breakup movie, right? And
Yeah,
I feel like Sam Neill, like wants to possess her or something, but I don't even know if that's quite right. I
yeah.
don't
I mean,
know.
I don't know either, but I kind of but I kind of think maybe the possession is so I've read a number of things which say that obviously there's this technical creature, but a number of critics kind of say the technical creature doesn't exist within physical reality and it may be a reflection of Anna's psychosis. But I'm almost like it
It's a bit of a
struck me as
cop out, isn't it?
yeah, it struck me as the kind of film where there's clearly a breakup and it's a toxic relationship, and there are two incredibly passionate characters linked by like a kid that have got a son. And it almost feels like the possession is like Anna's idea of wanting to escape this relationship and start a new life, whether that be with
Yeah.
a new person, or just like a completely new journey in her life, and that tentacled creature, whether this is correct or not, represents that freedom, that other world away from Sam Neill, which is so bizarre. It looks obviously it's bizarre, it's terrifying, it's horrible, but maybe
Yeah.
that's just her leaving that toxic relationship and going out on her own is represented by fucking a tentacle
Well,
squid monster.
I do agree with that to some extent, but I think the way I picked up at the start is that I didn't even know he was a spy, by the way, until
No,
I looked it up on
I feel
Wikipedia.
like he'd be a terrible spy.
Yeah. But I thought he'd been off doing a job somewhere, spying apparently. And then she'd been left alone for a long time. So she kind of
Yeah,
makes a new Sam Neill. So I
yeah.
I kind of got the impression that like
Oh
she
yeah, of course. The
fashioned
doppelganger stuff.
a new one, and like the squid guy was her making
Yeah.
one because he'd been away, but he'd been
Like
away by go on, sorry,
fashioned the person who was like exactly what
loving
she
and
wanted, what she
yeah,
wanted from that. And I guess that's where the doppelganger motif kind of appears, and like
yeah,
there's obviously a doppelganger of her as well, which no one seems to realize is just her. They're just like, bloody hell, you look like her, don't you? A little bit.
yeah. That is strange. I don't understand where that one came from. The other
Yeah.
her. Is it supposed to be in a because the Sam? That's the thing about this film. Is there's a lot of like wishy-washy
Yeah.
thematic stuff where you feel like is that supposed to be like a physical real thing in the story, or is it meant to be
Yeah.
a bit more, you know, take from it whatever you want, like an
Yeah.
impressionist
Well, that's the
reality.
thing. Like, you could just, yeah, an impressionist reality, or it seems like the doppelganger of Anna, called Helen,
Hmm.
who's like a teacher. She's like much more gentle, and perhaps she represents what Sam Neill wants in a partner. And Anna's, when
Yeah,
she makes a doppelganger of Sam Neill, that's what she wants in a partner.
sexy tentacle monster.
Sexy tentacle monster. I don't know how the other guy comes into it. The sort of
Heinrich. He's
Heinrich.
it's like a new agey dancing. I didn't really understand his thing, but he rides a motorbike. He only wears white, and he's very handsy,
I
too
don't know
handsy.
why. I thought maybe he was like her, like gay best friend, and you don't
It
need
could have
him.
been, yeah, yeah,
Like, but no, is that like it's weird how that there's like the other man, but then the other man sort of is obsessed with her in his own way, and him and Sam
yeah,
Neill come together as like enemies initially, but then almost like bond in their
yeah.
like the fact that they've both lost her. It's very strange.
It's worth noting as well. So where I mean, he himself probably had to fight for his ex's attention from a tentacle monster, I imagine. Or
We've all been there. We've all been there. Oh, come on. Do you want to give it another go?
yeah,
Uh, yeah. So I guess, yeah, in terms of the cast, we've obviously already mentioned Sam Neill and
Sam Neill's great, by the way. He's
yeah,
much more. I mean, he isn't the tentacle monster, but he is just as Wrigley. Like he seems to move around constantly. Like his
Yeah,
arms are constantly. In fact, every character in this
yeah.
film's arm.
Put upon these characters, these
Yeah,
actors, sorry, because it's almost like it's too much, and you think these performances can't all be like that. So I think he's gone.
you know in
Listen,
Talladega Nights where Thingy says, "I don't know what to do with my hands," and his hands keep coming into the screen.
yeah,
It's like he's said, "I'm wanting to do some." He's made everyone really self-conscious about their hands. You're not doing enough acting with your hands. What?
yeah,
More,
more
yeah,
hands, more
more
handsy.
hands. Yeah. Heinrich knew the job. He like
Yeah,
more hands. Got it. I'm a pro at this. Constantly
yeah,
touching people.
constantly touching people. Uh, yeah, but this is like early on for Sam Neill. He was in The Omen 3 the same year as that. And before that, he'd been in a
Ah,
handful of
yeah,
films from like
yeah.
1975 onwards. But I guess he hadn't sort of broken into the mainstream just yet. When did he break into
Mm.
the mainstream? Kind of like I was gonna say Dead Calm. What was that like? 89.
This around
Yeah,
81 was this one? Early 80s, I imagine.
early 80s. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but it's pretty fascinating to see him as an actor, considering like I think most of his performances now are quite chill, except maybe like Event Horizon was probably the only other thing I'd say where he was going
Yeah.
full Sam Neill. The rest of them, he's kind of like a bit of a straight straight guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Um,
It's weird because as a kid, I always thought like his Alan Grant mode was his prime mode. But now after
mm,
seeing more of his films growing up, I feel like
yeah.
evil horror guy is more his thing to do.
Okay.
That's more his shtick.
Yeah.
Like Event Right, yeah.
Not
I
Alan
mean,
Grant.
no, yeah. I don't know. He's an
He's
interesting guy. He's a really interesting guy. Doesn't he
maybe
like
just
own
as
like a farm or something now in New Zealand? Makes
does he?
wine or something. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Is he just a man? This could be a prequel for Jurassic Park. This could be Alan Grant's early days. He wasn't off spying. He was off paleontologing. That's not a word.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what was the whole spy thing? I guess it's a Berlin Wall thing. Like he'd been on the other side of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah. So yeah. So this film is set in West Berlin, and I mean, I guess at this time of like in the early 80s as well. There's something about it, isn't it? It kind of feels. How would you describe West Berlin? And it's. I mean, film critics might say something like West Berlin in itself is a character in this movie, perhaps the main character.
Yeah. I think you do get a few shots of like towers with like sentry guards in them and
Yeah.
like watching over. I think there is a feeling of this is almost like a cordoned off, like a little prison of a little town or something. I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure.
It feels like that. The interiors feel strange because like their house feels a bit like it's very neutral, a lot of neutral colors, but like it's a bit of a mess in there, sort of like unkept. The exteriors are sort of all like concrete and tower blocks and
Hmm.
cars and stuff. There's not really any like greenery. And then the other interiors that we get is kind of like the sort of beat up town. Is it like a townhouse or something, or beat up sort of like with all like peeling wallpaper and
Yeah.
just looks like
Slimy beds.
slimy beds. Yeah, it looks like the
Yeah.
house in Home Alone 2 where all the traps are set.
Yeah.
There'd be a can of paint coming towards your head as you come around the corner.
You could probably decorate that beaten up room quite well. Like you could make a really fashionable, fancy, like workshop style bedroom, if that makes sense.
You could. I reckon you
Yeah.
could. Lovely. You'd have to clean up after the old tentacle monster and some dead bodies as well there.
Yeah.
Just a couple. But
Yeah.
yeah, so obviously, yeah, Mark's a spy. He returns home to West Berlin after a mysterious espionage mission. Like we didn't really find anything else about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize he was a spy for some reason. I thought he'd just been.
Well, he has like a little table meeting, and there's like five people that are like, "We want you to
Oh yeah,
come do more work or something."
I thought he was just
Uh,
an architect or something. We want to
yeah, I
come to
thought so.
find.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So he goes home and uh, he spends like a night with his wife, and they like it's not going well. It's very cold. The feels very
Hmm.
blue. Everything's very blue in that room.
Yeah, incredibly blue.
Yeah.
Everything looks blue, and I'd say that they're both feeling blue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They've got a
yeah,
little son called
like
Bob,
that.
short for
Bobbert.
uh Bobbert, Robo Bob, and Bob's a weird kid. He's got like a really English accent. Oh, has he got an English accent? I don't know. It seemed
Oh, I don't know.
like
He's voiced by Vin Diesel.
I
Doing
am
an English
Groot.
accent. Doing an
I
English.
am
I am
Bob.
Bob. Vin Diesel doing an English accent, talking about Bobbert.
Yeah. Bob's all right. He's kind of gets on with his days. He eats like jam straight from the jam jar. I think he gets left home alone at one point.
Oh
He
yeah, he
actually
does eat
gets
jam
left
straight
home
from the
alone. Yeah.
Yeah, he does, and
He
he
sets
just
loads of
gives in.
traps and then
For-
falls
but
for
it-
each of them.
The jam trap. Oh, my head's in the jam jar. Bloody hell. Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Yeah. So it's almost like obviously the marriage is broken down, and talking about getting divorced and like who's gonna have custody of Bob or Bobbert. But yeah, I mean it's incredibly like intense. Like they I don't get a feeling that they like hate each other, but like it's just
Yeah, they love
so
each other, and he
visceral.
wants her to stay, but she keeps leaving and she keeps saying, I'm because she's found someone else or something. And there's one bit where Sam Neill's in a rocking chair and they're having a really passive aggressive conversation as he's like rocking even further back and forward. And
That's
it's
a great shot though, isn't it? Because it's kind of like the camera's right there in his face and he's kind of like going right up against it and going,
yeah,
I've never rocked as hard as I am right now.
yeah. Yeah, she keeps going, she keeps saying, I've got to go somewhere, and keeps returning. And every time she returns, she just gets more and more deranged. Like she starts like she puts a slice of bread on top of the fridge for some reason, just leaves it there.
And
She
she puts
gets like
a slice of bread under the fridge. It's a fridge sandwich. That is what she's made there. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
She's gonna eat everything. But yeah, she's deranged, but she's very like distant as well, like incredibly distant. Sunglasses on, kind of like
Yeah. She looks like, I mean, like honestly looks like she's had some sort of psychotic breakdown. Like you're I don't know if you've ever met someone who's had a psychotic breakdown, or like when they're on drugs or something, and you're trying to talk to them, and their like eyes aren't focusing on you. They're somewhere
like
looking at something. Yeah,
looking through you almost.
yeah, and they're having like conversations that they're not really even talking to you. They're talking to something else. And it's just like making like sausage meat for some reason, and I don't know. It's like everything's just like dialed up to 11. Like
So is the sausage meat scene? Is that when Sam Neill like cuts himself with the like electric?
She cuts her own neck with the turkey cutter.
It's all so intense. It's like one of those super toxic relationships where like you know but like it's so intense. It's so visceral. Like like they're one of those relationships where you're like can't live with her, can't live without her. Because if I live without her, I'll go insane. But if I live with her, I kind of want to kill her. It seems like one of those scenarios.
It's weird, isn't it? Because so she cuts herself with it on the neck, and then she wraps it up like a thing. She leaves, walks into the room. She walks back in, and Sam Neill's like cut his arm with the cut right into his sleeve with the thing as well.
Gonna cut your neck, are you? You wait there. I'm gonna cut my arm even.
But then they don't even talk about it. It's like just casually self-harming and
casually self-harming. Yeah. Poor Bob. He just have a bit of jam. That's all he wants.
What is Bob up to at that point? Like, if you were Bob and your parents were like making fridge sandwiches, which is like the nickname term for having an argument. Oh, they're making fridge sandwiches again.
Oh, so we talk about the scene in the like
restaurant.
cafe or restaurant. So restaurant. So
That's
initially they sit like on like opposite each other on the corner of like this sort of seating thing. So they're like not really at the same table, but they're next to each other, just looking in complete different directions, and have like the most insane like argument. I guess it starts off as just shouting, but then he's smashing stuff and throwing chairs, and like people who work at the restaurant like trying to.
Yeah, it's like a tag team in Chef Whites come running in, and like they what's that called? The Dudley Brothers routine where they what's 3D. It called? 3D, yeah.
Get the tables.
Yeah, they teppanyaki him, and he yeah, tables, ladders, chairs match. Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. Like he's throwing chairs around.
Oh my god! It's like a it's like a Jerry Springer, an episode of Jerry Springer, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
It's just so intense, isn't it? It's just like, you are not the father. I mean, he is the father of Bob, but then he's like, fucking hell, right, that's it. It's just embarrassing, really, recently. Like we've all had like disagreements in public, and it does sometimes feel like, no matter what they're like, they feel dialed up to 11 or whatever. But this is just, this is just insane.
A referee runs into the ring, into the restaurant. a bell dings.
What is Anna doing? Like, while this is all
I think
happening,
she just kind of slips away. Like they all jump on top of her, and then she just kind of crawls out from like a gap, and there's like it's the cloud, and arms and like legs are like jumping out of the cloud. Yes, it's good. It's really
Bob.
good.
And then Bob has like what I can only describe. It looks like he's going cold turkey, but like rather than coming off of heroin, he's coming off of his relationship, because he's sweaty and like he's got stubble.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
He's literally like in agony. Like he's just writhing around. In pain, and it is almost like this end of the relationship, and him kind of coming to terms with the end of the relationship is being represented like she's a class A drug.
Yeah, because he doesn't even know like how much time's passed. I think he says like, what year is it? It's 2023.
Jumanji style. What year is it? It's 2023, mate. You've been split up with Anna for ages. I won't worry about it anymore. I can. So yeah, I mean that's incredibly intense, but I think it represents a lot of things well, but in very heightened ways. So
yeah, it's almost like we were saying, like an impressionist reality. It's like none of this is actually happening, but the emotions. This is what it feels like visually represented. So everything kind of moves how. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, if Pixar would do this, they would do it in a slightly different way. But
a lovely, cute tentacled monster. It'd be fun for all the family. You get like cuddly toy versions of it, being sold.
Yeah,
it'd be great. We'd love it. There'd be a Fortnite skin.
Yeah,
of the possession monster. Sam Neill, all depressed in his pajamas, doing a little emote, throwing chairs. Very intense.
So while Sam Neill is doing this, I think Isabelle, what's her name? Is it Anna?
Anna, yeah.
Anna's going on her own adventure. She goes to like a church, and there's like a scene where she's just like looking at a Christ figure and moaning, and then she goes to pick up her fruit corner yogurts, and then like has the is this the most famous scene you think from this film? Like where she's like moaning in the subway tunnel. She has like a little yogurty
I think it's
spasm.
the most famous scene. So I've got it in the background here. She's having a yogurty spasm. Goes off to get a fruit corn. I guess it is. This is the most famous scene from it because it is like insane and a bit like out of nowhere, really, isn't it? It's not like you. What does this happen? Does this happen now, or is this like a little bit? Is this a little bit later? Is this kind of?
Not too sure. Don't know. I just remember she goes to see the church figure, the Christ figure, and then she has this. So maybe like because this is the like having a miscarriage, I think, right? Like a really bad one. Like it's coming out of her ears.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I think we do find out more about Heimlich.
Okay.
Heinrich first, and don't we also see because I distinctly remember watching that scene and thinking, oh, has she been impregnated by the tentacle monster? So I think maybe we'd seen it already. I don't know.
Well, I've been confused because when I was watching the YouTube videos, they were saying that the tentacle monster was the abortion. Or
that's I've heard that as well. Again, I don't really know. What's true or what's not. So I think that is kind of like a recounted moment that Anna is sort of when she's recounting to Mark about what happened, and then it flashes back. So I think so initially, he receives a phone call, doesn't he, Mark, from Anna's lover Heinrich, and then things start to make sense. You think, okay, the reason she's being so distant, the reason she's going out all the time is because she's got another man, and it's Heinrich who is yeah, as we said, like he likes dancing. They have a little bit of a scrap as well when Mark goes round there, which is quite funny because he's kind of like wearing tap shoes, Heinrich, and he gives him
Yeah.
gives him like a swift boot in the face.
Yeah.
So they have a bit of a dust up, and I think Mark meets Bob's teacher as well, who looks identical to Anna, but like different eye color, got like green eyes. And again, he doesn't like mention you look
Yeah.
exactly the same as my wife. Is kind of like he's drawn to her in a way, and obviously we as the audience know it's because she looks like Anna. But the fact that it's never mentioned also makes it. Is he projecting that onto somebody else? Does Helen in truth look nothing like Anna, and we're just seeing it from his point of view that he's seeing someone who's like, oh, actually, you know what? This could be my new wife. Do you want to be my new wife?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Is he just imagining that she looks that way? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Because now like the violence is kind of like dialed up a bit because when after Mark like fights Heinrich, he then has he's an altercation with Anna again and ends up sort of hitting her, and that's when she's got the blood down her face sort of thing.
Yeah.
That scene's really weird because you kind of feel like a fly on the wall because you're the camera's like right in the corner of this room looking at the door, and Mark and Anna are kind of like leaving the house, coming back in, like fighting each other, struggling, and you do kind of feel like what Bob is probably witnessing, just sort of watching this unfold.
Yeah.
Why can't you just love each other?
Oh, there's another fridge magnet sandwich.
Fridge magnet sandwich, crunchy.
So around here, Mark hides a private investigator, I think, which is weird because
Yeah.
he's a spy, so surely he'd be pretty good at that himself.
Yeah, it'd be like if you're a plumber hiring a apprentice plumber.
Toilet man.
A toilet man. Aren't you a plumber? Yeah, but it's dirty work, isn't it? It's dirty work. I'm not interested. So the investigator follows Anna, and yeah, so it's really weird because he follows her for a while, and then it's like a derelict apartment building, derelict.
Yeah.
And he follows her. How does he get in there? He says he's like
He goes to the floor above, I think.
Drops
to, like,
through.
throw her up. Yeah.
There's a stomp through. Ooh, lands like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't he? He says he needs to see something like the windows or something like that. Doesn't he say
Oh,
like?
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I need to. I'm from the city. I work for the city. Sorry,
Yeah. He's a glass inspector.
The city employed you. Yeah, and that is when does he pretty much immediately stumble across the tentacled monster?
Not immediately. I think he's like looking around for a little bit, and then I think she's at first she's trying to get him out, but then I think she kind of just gives in and just accepts the fate, and then he walks into the bedroom. Do we see it on the bed at this point? Just slopping around?
Yeah, I think we do. Because again, everyone's got such a weird reaction to everything in this film. Like the private investigator kind of just like is looking at it, staring at it. Like
I think you would. I don't think you'd be scared. Like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, Kat was saying that in horror movies and TV shows, whenever you see a dead body or something like weird, people scream their heads off and it cuts to the next scene. I don't think you would. I think you'd be a bit more like, oh, what is that? Like you'd be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like from prom night from last week, somebody's head like got cut off at the prom and was rolling across the floor. But I think I would never think it was a real head if that happened.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, it's a prank, is it? Yeah.
Boot it.
Or if and it turned out it was a real head, you'd be like, what is it? Whose head is it? What's going? I don't think screaming is the first thing because screaming is like, yeah, you'd be in denial, wouldn't you? You'd be in shock.
Yeah. I think you'd try and find the reality. Like you'd be like investigating, like what the fuck I need to figure out what this is. And like he is kind of looking at it. And I'll be honest, even like us watching it and we could pause the screen. So we're like looking at like what is that? Like you can't quite see it. Like it's just like a mess of slime and sludge and I mean it doesn't look dangerous. It looks kind of pathetic, really. It doesn't look like it could get up. Like he couldn't even stand up.
It kind of looks like like in Prometheus when the xenomorph isn't a xenomorph, it's kind of just a sort of tentacled thing, and it's Yeah, it kind of just looks like grey and weird, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think she says he's tired because he's been making love to me all night. And it's like it like gives her the thumbs up. I think it was thumbs up. I don't know what it did. But like it lifted something.
Whey, what a legend. He comes over to her and goes, my
High five.
man, sweet, sweet. She's a married woman, mind. You dirty dog.
Yeah. Maybe this is where the possession bit comes from because she suddenly goes, "Ah," and then she like attacks him. Is
Yeah.
that the creature like forcing her to do that?
Yeah, possibly. Maybe there's some sort of like telekinetic or telepathic connection, sorry.
This whole element gave me a like I mean, because it happens again later on. You might get a Hellraiser, Hellbound
Yeah,
Heart sort of vibe.
100%. I definitely felt the same. Yeah, it's kind of like even though Anna hadn't lured these people here, they did
Hmm.
kind of feel that sort of thing, like she was killing these people as a sacrifice in a way
Yeah.
to something. Like it's better that she kills these people rather than them discover the
Yeah.
fact that she's
I
got
don't think it eats the people or anything like that, but she does put the head in the crisper to keep it nice and crisp in the fridge. So
the crisper, not the crisper. She's like talking of which, I could murder a fridge sandwich. But
yeah.
but so yeah, she kills the private investigator. She bottles him, bottles him, bottle of
Yeah,
Stella.
puts them inside a bottle. Bottle you for later. Yeah.
Shrinks him down, puts him in a bottle, and then yeah, but then there's the detective who's dead. Like I guess a few days ago past, but um, the lover of that detective. I was confused, but I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was the lover initially. I can't
I don't
remember
think I think it wasn't supposed to be. He wasn't letting that on initially. He was like he's not been. He's like he works for him or something.
Yeah,
And he
but then
goes,
when he finds but then because he becomes distressed, we realize that there's something
yeah,
else at play.
yeah.
So exactly the same thing happens. He finds the creature, finds the detective's dead body,
Well, he
and
has
then
a gun, doesn't he? How does he get shot? I can't remember how this
yeah,
works
well,
out.
I think they have a bit of a Anna like attacks him. They have a fight, and then she steals his gun and shoots him,
Yeah.
doesn't she? Um,
And then still, whatever his name is, Blob, is just there like, oh no, he's in the corner of the room now, isn't he? He's standing,
yeah, he's
and he's
moved
like,
up,
he's like got eyeballs now. I
developed
think
shins,
he's got shins and eyes,
opposable thumbs as well.
opposable shins as well. But like he's like, I think we get like a good look at him face to face, and we see his little mouth, and he does look like I don't know what you like a very tube like face,
Got a
tubular.
tiny mouth. He's got a tiny mouth as well.
His eyes are on the sides,
When
so
do we
that's how you
see?
know he's not a predator, right? Is it no? Because predators
He's a
have their eyes
horse.
forward. That's how we know he's a horse.
Because when do we see like the sex scene? Because obviously
That's
there is a
later
little bit
on, like
later.
yeah,
So I think
that.
now
Go
is
on.
sorry, I was gonna say now is when Anna like recounts because it's weird because Mark obviously doesn't get anything back from the private investigator. Excuse me, can I just have an update, please? No, can't get through to him. Probably dead. But I think now is when she
Yeah,
recounts her violent miscarriage, which is like in a subway, and it happened. But here in the description of the film, it says it happens while he was gone. So it's like this whole
oh, so it is a recount. Yeah,
affair
that's what you mean.
affair has
Yeah,
like happened. I say affair slash birthing of this doppelganger squid person. It's a strange
yeah.
sentence.
To make it
Happened.
even weirder, like he's watching a movie. Sam Neill's watching a movie
Shark
made
Tale.
by made by Heinrich,
Oh yeah.
starring Anna, who's like
Oh
staring at the camera, even a film within a film.
yeah.
Stop staring at the camera. And she's talking about, I don't like some philosophical thing. I'm not entirely sure what, I'm sure there's an actual reason for what she's talking about. Something like chance and belief or
It'd be
something.
so weird, wouldn't it? Be like, you know, your wife, yeah, she's been having an affair with this bloke. Oh, okay, that's
Has
bad
it made any
news.
movies?
He's made a movie of her. Oh yeah, I know what to expect. If that's the case, I don't want to see it. No, no, it's great. It's great. You should watch it. I will.
Yeah. And it is
Yeah.
porn. Oh God, they got me.
And it is porn.
Smacking
God
me.
damn it.
Oh God.
I'm just gonna watch it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the scene of the miscarriage is like, it's weird because it's like she's thrashing around in pain, but it's almost got like a bit of a dance to it, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
there's a bit of, I don't know, I can't remember. Is there any music to this scene? Can't
I
remember.
don't think so. I just remember her moaning a lot,
And you
and
turn the
then
volume down
she,
to free.
and then she like throws a bag of yogurts and milk into the side,
Mm.
and then she falls. Yeah, and then she starts like foaming out of the ears and mouth and stuff.
Because it's
Like
like
it's
blood, but also like sort of other creamy fluids, isn't it?
very
That
creamy.
coming out, very creamy. But I tell you what, cost of living these days, you couldn't be throwing your shopping around like that. In the 80s, maybe must have been able to get away with it. Who knows what the price was like in West Berlin?
Yeah. I mean, this is a scene that you will definitely stay with people after watching. Maybe more so than the actual tentacle sex scene.
Oh
Because this
yeah,
is
I
like
think
a
so.
genuinely bizarre bit of cinema.
Yeah, because you look at the technical sex scene and you can see what's happening there. You're like, okay, right,
Oh
I
yeah,
get it.
okay, yeah, I get it.
But you see this
Well,
scene, you're
got
like,
it.
not really
I don't. I
sure
will
what's
never get
happening.
this. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think
What happens next?
Heinrich goes to the apartment next, um, and
Okay, yeah.
again discovers she's not very good. I'd put a bloody blanket over the creature. I would just like constantly people discovering the creature. Like, what's going on in there? So obviously Heinrich's trying to
And he finds the head in the fridge, I
reconcile.
think.
He finds the head in the fridge, and there's like dismembered body parts in the refrigerator. I think
Yeah.
she attacks him, but doesn't kill him because he
She
runs away
stabs him in the
bleeding.
boob. Yeah, she stabs him in the boob.
Oh
And he
yeah,
runs
that's
away,
right.
gets on his motorbike, and then he calls Sam Neill to meet him at the pub or something.
Yeah. So it's like, well, I think initially she says, "Come and pick me
Hmm.
up." Like you just be like, "Who's this?" This is the bloke who's been shagging your wife, right? What do you want? Can you come pick me up? I've been stabbed.
Yeah.
God.
So how does the logistics of this bit work? Because Sam Neill needs to go to the apartment before he catches up with Heinrich, right?
Yeah. So I think he goes. I don't know how he's got the details of the apartment, probably from Heinrich, but he goes to the apartment first before he catches up with Heinrich, and again sees the creature. No, discovers the
There's,
body parts, but the creature's gone.
but
But
he does this weird thing where he starts like screaming, and
oh
then he
yeah,
goes outside, and has like an evil glance at the camera. So has he been possessed at this point?
has he been possessed,
Because
or at
this
this?
is the point where he starts like going off the deep end.
Is he been possessed, or is it at this point is he the creature in its final form, having become, because the creature's gone essentially? But I'm like, where's the
What
creature
what
gone?
what color were his eyes at this point? I don't
They're on the
know.
sides of his. They're on the sides of his head. That's what I
Oh
know.
yeah, like a horse.
Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Listen.
Listen here, Sam Neill. Um, so yeah, so Mark goes to the bar to meet
Mhm.
Henrik, but then he kills him in the bathroom, doesn't he? Like, how does he kill him? He tries to make it look like
Oh yeah,
it was
slams it in the head with the toilet lid,
yeah,
and
classic,
then he
classic.
puts his shoe into the toilet,
Yeah,
because obviously. But that's how they're going to notice him. I mean, this is what they teach you in spy school: toilet murder. And then he shoves whilst he's unconscious, he shoves his head in the toilet, flushes again, and then he's obviously just going to drown. As he does that, he sneaks out over the top of the toilet cubicle.
yeah.
Job
Oh
done.
yeah, so
Oh, at the
so it
same time, he
looks.
blows up the apartment as well.
Oh yeah, he does. I mean, he's gone full spy mode, isn't he? And he escapes on Heinrich's motorbike as well, which is like
Yeah, it's
the
like a little
ultimate
gun battle.
disrespect.
Why does he have a little gun? Oh, because his boss has turned up. We were talking about
Yeah.
that job, and he ends up having a gun
I
scrap.
tell I tell you what, the final third of this film definitely like goes into some territory where I was a bit like, I'm a bit lost. I can't deny it, especially like
What
with the
did you not
gun battle.
understand about the gun battle after he blew up the apartment building, murdered a guy, saw some tentacles? Because he does this all this stuff, and then he goes to catch up with Anna because they're in
Yeah.
it together now.
So
Like
so are they
he's
like
on her
thinking
side.
that he's gone rogue? Is it so his spy friends are thinking he's gone rogue in some way, so we need to take him
Yeah.
down? Is that what they're thinking? Yeah. Okay, well maybe my misunderstanding was like I didn't understand how it was relevant to the story we'd had up to this point. It
The
kind of
spy
felt
stuff
like
is a bit extra. Like
Yeah,
it's
very
like you
extra,
don't
isn't
need
it?
it, but like if you wanted a bit more to this film,
Yeah.
there's
Can
some
we have
spice stuff as well.
some spice stuff?
Bit of
Um,
spice.
a little bit of spice.
Spice up
Very
the film a
spicy.
bit. Yeah.
Um, so then he goes home. Oh yeah, and this is when
There's
oh
another
wait,
woman who's
there's
looking
another
after
woman, Margie, who's looking
who's
after
got like
Bob.
a broken leg for some reason, and he says he hates her, but she's looking after Bob, and she's been murdered by Anna. So
Yeah.
he'd like
Do you see
puts
what
her
I
in a
mean? The final third of this film is extra.
he puts her in like a bag or something. I don't know what he does to that one. He gets rid of the body somehow.
He drags, yeah. So she dies. He drags the body inside where Anna greets him, and that is when they kind of like have their reconciliation, sexy time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then they like make plans to cover up Margie's death, but then, and this is a Jerry Springer moment, which is when he discovers Anna having sex with the creature. So yeah,
My wife's been
this
having sex with a tentacled monster.
my wife's been having sex with a tentacle, and now we're gonna bring out that tentacle monster. Here he comes.
Come on, Blob.
Come here, you fucking come here, you fucking I'm throwing. He does
Ding
like
ding ding.
he does like throwing chairs, which happens a lot in
Yeah, yeah.
Jerry Springer. He said Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah. So what does he do when he catches them having sex in the kitchen as well? You know, where the food is made.
I think he watches. I think he's kind of disturbed at first. How does this end? Because he sees that, and then he has the gunfight with spies.
Yeah, the gunfight is next, isn't it? Because I was going to say, but there's also another little subplot where Henrik's mother phones Mark. I wish you got
Yeah.
Mark's number from. This is a bit weird, a bit awkward. My son said he'd been shagging your wife, and he gave me a number just in case anything was to go pear shaped. Do you know where he is? And like Mark goes to meet with her, and then she ends up like committing suicide, doesn't she?
Yeah, and I think she knows that he killed Heinrich as
Yeah,
well, right?
I think so. Yeah. I just want to look you in the eyes before I commit suicide. How dare you kill my son? Yeah, and this is, I guess, where the spy stuff kind of happens because he's kind of wandering the street, and they're like pressuring him to like rejoin them, aren't they? They're kind of like saying,
If you don't join us, we're going to shoot you.
Oh,
I mean,
that would convince me. Do you want to come? Do you want to come and rejoin us? Well, I'm not really in the mood. We will shoot you
and give you 25 days holiday.
25 days holiday. Okay, you make it 26.
And no shooting. Yeah, 26 and no shooting. I'll join.
So I think is when he's trying to get rid of Margie's body at the apartment when it's surrounded by police and his former employers. And yeah, there's like a shootout. There's like fleeing on the motorbike. He crashes the motorbike, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah, he crashes the motorbike and he gets shot. And he runs up these stairs in this hallway apartment building thing.
Yeah,
and as
like
he gets to the top,
spiral staircase, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like bleeding out and dying. He's Anna and what was once upon a time a tentacle monster, but is now Alan Grant. Walk up the stairs.
Oh, his eyes are kind of terrifying, right?
Yeah, he's got like
black
he's
eyes.
got
almost.
Actually, has Anna got? No, still see Anna's normal eyes. Yeah.
So he's got like kind of black, like almost pure black like not pupils, but like actual eyes. So
Anna,
that is creepy.
Serbian films in, doesn't she? You seen the Serbian film? I'm not saying to watch it, but there's like
yeah. What happens?
She like gets on top of him and shoots herself through the back. Sam Neill, so they both die.
Yeah,
and they kiss, really like full of like tongue and stuff, as they're like both bleeding out.
So it says they get gunned down in a hail of bullets from the police below as well. Bloodied and dying, Anna lies atop Mark and uses his gun to shoot herself. So I guess they like die together.
And then here's where the film gets weird. So,
he jumps to his death as well, doesn't he? Rather than just dying then and there, he jumps to his death. But then the doppelganger version of him flees through the roof. I understand that it probably sounds like we're flying through the plot points of this, but it is that kind of film, isn't it? Where it's just like there's a lot going on, and it's fine to look at the thematic, the thematic elements of it throughout, but also just by describing all this, you can realize how difficult that could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, new Sam Neill
Yeah,
goes
that makes
back to the apartment where Bob is. Bob, he's like at the door for some reason, like with his arms like at the glass door. And then new Anna is in there looking after Bob, one with green eyes. So
yeah.
it's like these two new versions of them. And Bob's like, no, 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 don't let him in, don't open the door or something. And Bob just gets into a bath and just
Yeah.
like drowns himself or something.
Which I think would be difficult anyway, you know?
Yeah,
Drowning yourself, getting into a bath, even if I did really want to die, I reckon it'd take a
yeah.
while and then I'd go, actually, you know what? I don't know if I'm ready for this. But it's strange because I was kind of thinking maybe these are like the new doppelganger versions are the perfect versions of these two characters who can be a
Yeah.
good parents to Bob. But it's almost like it goes pear shaped because Bob's not into it, which he wouldn't be because he'd be like, it's not
And
my parents.
as those two are finally together, like we just hear like gunfire and like end of the world style bombs going off outside. So are they like the antichrist? It's like an antichrist situation where like this event
The
of these two
rapture.
people, yeah, has like triggered an end world
Yeah.
situation. I mean, it's utterly bizarre. I mean, as they're staring at the camera and you like the lights go funny and you're hearing these explosions and stuff and the credits roll, I was like,
Yeah, because it kind of focuses
what?
on Anna's character.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's Helen, isn't it? Looking at the camera like with green eyes, and there's kind of a flash, almost like a flash of white. Almost feels like there's a nuclear bomb going off or something like that, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, my impression is like, yeah, that he's like a kind of antichrist because the only reason I say that is because she went to see the Christ on the cross thing, and then she
Yeah,
had this um what's the word? Not abortion. Um
miscarriage.
miscarriage, yeah. And then
Mm.
that kind of made this demonic version of Alan. And then him taking not Alan's life, but Sam Neill's life, that's kind of triggered this end world situation. But
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of the way I took it as I was watching it.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know if that's what they were aiming for.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I'm sure the filmmaker knows. The filmmaker knows, but there's so many different ways you could take it. The fact is, there's so many different video essays out there, kind of breaking down the film, and they all seem to have a different take on like what the point of it is and
That's kind
what
of
the
cool, doesn't it?
subtext.
That kind
Yeah,
of makes you feel like there's like it's not nonsense. Like it feels like there's enough thematic legs in here for people to have like genuine discussions about what they think happens or what it's about.
yeah, most definitely. And I think that's what's interesting about a film like this. You can take from it, like you could watch it and probably just see the relationship story and the toxic
Hmm.
relationship story and how it sort of devolves into something else.
I was
You
quite
could look at the
interested.
body horror elements of it. Sorry, go on.
That's all right. I mean, I'm just going to skip ahead a bit, but I was quite interested. Uh, he has another film, the film we made before this one.
Is that the sci-fi
Um,
one?
yeah, it sounds
Look,
really cool.
sounds great. Yeah, kind of
What's
reminds
it
me of
called again?
something about a it kind of reminds me of what's that film that you're a fan of? The
Stalker.
Stalker. Yes, kind of reminds me of that sort of post-apocalyptic world. I know it's like an alien planet, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's called On the Silver Globe.
yeah.
Hmm.
And like the plot is about some astronauts land on an alien planet, and then they kind of revert to like a and tribal living, and then they find there's a post-apocalyptic city where bird people are living, and
Yeah.
then they make half bird, half human babies, and
Yeah.
then another man, human, arrives on the planet, and it's about him getting like again, I think he gets like sacrificed as a kind of Christ figure.
Yeah, so I think he becomes like a kind of like godlike figure and then eventually gets sacrificed.
I
It
mean, it
looks
sounds
strange.
insane, but like it's such cool looking, and I know when you're talking about like Stalker, it's that kind of Tarkovsky
Yeah.
depressing sci-fi, Eastern European block sci-fi kind of thing.
Yeah. Like that and a bit like a Terrence Malick like
Yeah,
Brazil is Terrence Malick, isn't it? That sort of like otherworldly, just weird. kind of over the top, almost like flamboyant. There's something about it, like it's not got like a huge budget, so it doesn't look like it's polished as something like, I don't know, a Star Wars or a Planet of the Apes or something like that. However, like they've obviously done the visuals are great. Yeah, I'd never heard of it before. I kind of was sort of watching videos about this film today.
Yeah, I'd be interested to watch another that film particularly. I'd be interested to see more of Żuławski's work. I'd actually be interested to watch this again, not anytime soon, but I'd be quite curious now that we talked about it a bit to know like how it goes down. Because I'll be honest, the first time there's so much you get a bit whiplash because it's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like it's so much happening so quickly and so with such heightened emotion.
Yeah, most definitely. It is a really, really intense watch. I guess right, okay. So before we rate the film, which I think is going to be pretty difficult anyway, I'll do a little bit of name game with you, Luke.
Okay.
If you fancy
All
a
right.
little bit of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got any for me, but I'll deliver a few
Yeah.
for you. It's kind of a bit difficult when it's just one word title.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll try what we can do. So this movie is good because I don't really have to explain to you the rules of this, because usually with brand new guests, I have to explain and then they still don't know, and then I do one or two and then they go, oh, I get it now.
Oh, it's that. That's stupid.
Oh, it's that thing.
I
That's
get
stupid.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so a woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after her husband's debts come back to haunt him, and bailiffs turn up to take all of their possessions.
Repossession?
Repossession. Correct.
I've got one for you.
Oh, okay. Hit me with it.
Footballer dribbles the ball for a little while, but then another footballer comes and takes it off of him.
Lost possession.
Well, I just got possession, but yeah.
Okay. Lost possession. And in the same vein, the footballer manages to chase down the other footballer and get the ball back.
Possession. Repossession.
Regains possession.
Regains possession.
Loses possession, regains possession. How about a woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after the bloody stock market crashes and the price of living goes up and all the bankers get bailed out by the government?
Repossession?
Not quite.
What's that?
I think we lived through one, maybe two.
Oh, recession.
Recession. That's correct. Yeah. You've got it.
All right. I've got another for you. Human being gets a job.
A human being gets a job. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Pretty simple film. Not much plot.
A human being gets a job. Employed. Give me a clue.
He had to go to university for it. Like it's like a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Why can't I think of the word? Jesus. The shoe's never on the other foot. Go on, hit me with it.
Profession.
It's almost too easy, isn't it? It's almost too easy. This one I'm maybe stretching the rules of the game a little bit here, but let's try it. A woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after coming back from a shop which sells meats, cheeses, various other nice fresh food from around the world. Maybe she ate something dodgy.
Like a deli?
Oh yeah, exactly that.
Wait, what? Deli?
A deli.
Session? A deli shop?
Deli.
Oh, delicatessen. Delicatessen.
Delicatessen. I'm incredible.
Okay.
When I said I was bending the rules of the game, I meant it.
Okay. Here's one for you then. So remember that thing on TV called the Teletubbies?
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. There was one guy who played a character called Poe. And this guy, after he finished his job, He'd take off his costume and he'd turn to his colleagues and say, "That was a good
Possession.
session." Yeah, yeah.
That was a good possession. You say it's a him, but it's not. It's a woman.
Oh,
It's
is it?
it's a little Asian lady. I can't remember what her name is.
Hmm.
Don't ask me how I know that, but I do. I'm pretty much up to speed on the older Teletubbies these days. That was a good possession. That was a great possession. Oh God, I think I'm done. I think that's it. I don't think I've got
Okay.
any more. You got any more?
Yeah. So
Oh,
there's a lady who invents a brand new sport. She's like been to like seeing the rowing loads of times. She's like, I like that rowing thing, but I'm not a fan of water. I much prefer hedges. So it's like rowing this sport, but you row your
okay.
boat over a series of increasingly amusing hedges.
Amusing hedges.
Yeah.
So it's row.
Yeah. Go on. You got it.
Row session.
No.
Row hedging.
Well, yeah,
Row
but they're amusing. So it's like row
ah,
hedge.
row hedge.
I mean, what is it
Should
when you're doing something that's like enjoyable? What is it? It's quite a activity to do. It's quite
fun.
nice.
Row
Yeah.
hedge fun.
Row hedge fun.
There we go. It just
I
roll
mean,
Luke, it just rolls off the tongue.
yeah,
It
exactly.
just rolls off the tongue, the old row hedge. Uh
You got any
I think
more?
that's it.
No.
No, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just can't. I mean, one word titles are difficult enough to do
Yeah.
this game with, but I think we did pretty well. I guess now all we got to do is rate the movie A to F. Or what? Do you know, I haven't said this on the podcast for a long time. I'm going to now, especially for you. How do you rate the movie? Is it rate good or is it rate bad?
Um, I don't know. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I would say when I was watching it, I was a bit like I was irritated because I was like frustrated with, and I think you're kind of supposed to be because it's so shrill, if that makes sense. Like the
Yeah,
timbre of the film was shrill. Like you constantly feel like, oh my God, it's so loud and pitchy, and I'm not in a good. I felt like Bob in the
yeah,
situations. Um, but I mean, obviously, great creature effects and the horror elements, while quite light, are still really interesting and really cool. Um, yeah, amazing performances, really, and a great
yeah.
chair fight, which I always think is a good thing to put in a film. Um, and as we're talking about it more and more, and I'm looking at more videos about it, I feel like it is more and more interesting. So I think it might be more of a grower. So right now, I think it's sitting at like a C plus, but I feel
Okay.
like there could be a lot of like growth in that on a rewatch.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I've got it down just as a B minus currently
Mm.
because
B flat.
I did enjoy a B flat. I did enjoy it. I was kind of like fascinated by it in a way. Like really sort of gripped me. And even though like the final third was a
Oop.
bit more wishy-washy and kind of lost me a little bit. It was like intense, bizarre, like it's a really mysterious plot that you can kind of take.
Mm.
But I think the reason I enjoyed it so much is just because of those two central performances are like juggernaut central performances. Like, yeah, really shrill, effective, where you're like, oh Jesus Christ, but in a way, like memorable because of that. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go for a B minus, but it's definitely made me want to check out on the Silver Globe because that just
Yeah.
sounds while this film, because it's quite a few years later. It's like 1988, that film, so it feels like
Okay.
maybe
Yeah.
this was like a sort of a not a test run for any of the things he did in that, but it'd be good to see where a completely different type of genre film from him goes.
Yeah. Andrzej Żuławski. Is that how you pronounce
Andre
it?
Andre the Giant, Andre Zalowski, Andre the Giant. Um, is he in a horror film, Andre the Giant? He's
Uh,
just in the Princess Bride, isn't he?
is that the only film we did?
I don't know actually. Don't know. I do not know. He would have been good in a horror film now. Imagine him as like a Leatherface or something.
Yeah.
Um, there we go. Well, that is it. That is Possession. Thank you. It's weird. I'm just thanking you, Luke. Thank you. Just thanks for being you, mate. Thanks for being you. Thanks for coming back on the show. As I said, we'll try and get a Fatal Freeway reunion together. That would be nice. And Andy did mention, I'm just dropping it out there as an early warning for, especially for our listeners. Andy did mention it would be good to start planning another quiz sometime soon.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like he's asked all of the horror questions that can exist in the world. Maybe he'll reuse some. Maybe if he reuses questions from the first episode, we'll have forgotten the answers, so it'll be fresh. I mean, I usually ask all of our guests. You're not officially a guest, but where can everybody follow you, Luke, as well? Keep up to speed for you when you're not on the show.
Yeah, listen to us on the Other Stories podcast. Short fiction stories every week. I'm Luke of Condor with K on all social media platforms. So yeah.
There we go. We'll put the standard links in all the show notes. You know how it works. Next week. Oh wait, I've got ahead of myself. That's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say is thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. We'll be soon publishing Patreon only content, including Horror Hangout Bite Size, a new little arm of the show there. How exciting. Thanks to all our patrons, including John Crinnan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Pazuzu, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Birch, and Rosalind Harnies. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors, for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you just search Horror Hangout Podcast, you'll find it. Next week, we're doing Army of Darkness with returning guest Alice Taylor Matthews, rounding off some of the Evil Dead films we haven't covered on the show.
Lovely.
How exciting. Absolutely lovely and delicious.
Thanks for having me, Ben. It's been a pleasure to be back. It's been like riding. It's been like getting a telemarketing call from a pope. Like
it's been like a lovely fridge sandwich. Has it been like slipping into a lovely pair of warm pants after you left them on the radiator when you got in the shower?
It's been like being slipped into by a lovely warm squid monster.
Ooh, being slipped into with no lube. Maybe a little bit of lube. Right, thanks very much. It's been fun. Nice to see you, Luke. And thanks everybody for listening.
Bye.
Bye.